Hi everyone, it's Latin Roses. If you want to learn how to make my mom's famous, so darn delicious pineapple upside down cake, then keep watching.
Hello, today we're going to be making a pineapple upside down cake, and we start with a box of yellow cake mix, any brand will do. Then we have 3 eggs that go into the mix. Then we have a cup of pineapple juice that replaces the water, and I have melted butter that's going to replace the oil. Okay, and so on the stove over here, we're going to melt some butter in a 9 by 13 cake pan, which I already have here. I already have my melted butter for my cake mix. And then over here, we're going to be having a cup of brown sugar, and there's 10 pieces of sliced pineapple slices that we're going to be using into our cake pan. So what we're going to do first is going to get the cake mix going, and then we'll come and do the pineapple. So we're going to start making our cake mix. We pour in our cake mix into our mixer, we pour in our eggs, and we pour in our pineapple juice, and we pour in our melted butter, and we'll start it mixing here. While we're mixing it here, we'll just go over to the stove and start the other part that we do for the pineapple upside down. Okay, so now we're going to make our cake. So now we're going to pour in the cake mix. Then we're going to pour in our 3 eggs. Then we're going to put in our pineapple juice. Then we're going to get our melted butter and pour this one in. And I like to scrape everything if I can. I like it, everything used up. Okay, now we're gonna start the machine, and from here we'll go to the stove. And I start it on slow until it all gets mixed up, and then I'll come back and put it up a little higher until it gets all combined. Okay, now we got our cake mix in there, so now we're gonna start with our pineapple. First, we're going to melt the butter, and let me get a pot holder here a little bit, and melt our butter in our cake pan. Okay, now we have melted our 1/2 cup of butter. Now we're going to put in a cup of brown sugar and mix it in with our butter so it'll all melt. And in the meantime, while this is melting, I have a can of pineapples, sliced pineapples, and there's 10 exactly in there. So I have some maraschino cherries. I have 12 right now because they're the small ones. But when I buy the jumbo ones, I only use 5 and cut them in half, and that's perfect. But for today, we're using the small maraschino cherry, so I have to have 12 because I use all of the pineapple, and it needs the, well, if you don't want the maraschino cherries, you can do without it, but I like it. And it's colorful when it's all done. And the cake, this will be the upside down part of the cake. So now this is getting nice and melted. And now we're gonna be putting the pineapple. And let's make sure that it's all incorporated here, so that it will be like even. And this looks pretty good now. Okay, now we're gonna turn off the fire on the cake pan. Now we're gonna bring it a little bit this way, and we're gonna start putting our pineapple. And this is the way I do it, because there's 10 of them. I will put them like this, spaced, because the last 2 will go in the middle. And hopefully it comes out the way it's supposed to. Because you know, when you're baking, especially in front of a camera, you're bound to make mistakes. And you don't want to do that. Okay, here's our last big slice. Now we're gonna take these other two and we're gonna cut them. Excuse me, mija. I'm gonna cut them in half like this. And I'll put one facing this way and the other one facing that way. And again, the opposite. And the last one. And space them so that they'll look sort of even.
And this is my mom's famous recipe, and she's giving you some really good tips here, guys.
Okay, now come our maraschino cherries. Like I said, they're not the giant ones, so I put the whole cherry because they're small. And when it comes out, you're gonna see how pretty it looks.
And delicious.
Oh, it's gonna be delicious. Because when you substitute the butter instead of the oil, the butter gives it a much nicer flavor. Now I'll dump that in there too. Okay, now we're gonna go back to the cake. We'll set this aside. In the meantime, I will put my oven on to 350. Okay, now we're done with our cake mix and we're gonna walk over to the stove again and we're gonna pour it into our cake pan. Now, a lot of you like to make it from scratch. For me, sometimes I don't have the time or I'm too lazy, so I rather use the cake box.
Simplicity is key.
Now we're gonna pour, let me put it over here on the counter. We're gonna pour the cake mix on top of all these beautiful pineapples and maraschino cherries. And I try to get everything I can if I can. I like to leave nothing behind. And now let me spread it around to cover every single piece of cherry and pineapple. Excuse me. And don't worry, because all these will level out as it's baking. Get it as smooth as possible. And so forth, if a cherry moves out of the way, it's okay. No harm. You're still gonna eat it.
I know I am.
Okay, now we're gonna put our cake mix in the oven for 35 minutes. And then we'll check it after 35 minutes. It should be golden brown. Yep, it's done. Okay, our cake is done. It's been cooling. Now I'm gonna score it around the edges so it'll lift off good when I flip it over. Now we put our cake pan that we're gonna put our cake on. I'm gonna use these right now because it's still a little warm. Okay. I'm gonna make sure it don't slip out of my hands. Here we go. See if it comes off. Okay, here we go.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Pretty.
Came out good.
Oh, delicious.
One cherry went down. But it looks good. You ready to give it a taste, mija?
Time for the
Okay,
taste
now
test.
we got our cake here. Now we're gonna have a taste. And my daughter's gonna do the tasting. So I cut a little square piece here. Put it on the plate. Still nice and warm.
Okay, guys, you know I came all the way to my mom's just to make this for you and, of course, naturally try it. So, peace. This is really good. This is all my family's favorite. My Uncle David, My cousins, they just love this. My family, I love it. It's really good. So if you try this recipe, let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, hit like. Let me know where you're from. I'd love to hear where you guys are from. And as always, if you want to stay in touch, subscribe. This is so good, I'm sorry. And as always, I wish you love, peace, and joy.
Okay, now we got our cake mix in there, so now we're gonna start with our pineapple. First, we're gonna melt the butter, and let me get a pot holder here a little bit, and melt our butter in our cake pan. Woo! Okay, that was